Hello friends and welcome back to Enterprise Architecture. Now last episode we made some exciting adventures in the Nether. We saw some interesting places, we caught on fire repeatedly, mined a few ores, caught on fire a few more times, and finally got all of the things that we need to pretty much finish out the Nether quest line here. Today I'm going to catch you up to speed on what I did between episodes so that we can proceed, and then we will be moving on to some personal empowerment. So with no further ado, let's dive right in. So in between episodes, I went ahead and set up the processing for our various ores here. We've got our dimensional quartz, we've got our peridot, we've got our sapphire, we have our ruby, and we have our zinc. All of those things are using basically a standard production line that we had set up in about 2 or 3 episodes ago. I'm not going to waste our time talking about it today, but you can see how that's automated in that previous episode for at least creating the zinc. The quartz, we're actually using the slurry off of the quartz, the clean slurry, to produce all of these other 3 types of gems, which are then being collected in the box above. Those happen in a pressurized reaction chamber. Again, see the previous episode for details. So we do need to grab these up real quick just to make sure that we're getting credit for all of those quests. I may have already done that when we were setting up. It looks like we did. And then the last thing here, we are getting nether waste as a byproduct of that process here. You can see that in the PRC, when the water and the clean quartz slurry go in, the ore goes in and then we get the gem back out, but nether waste is left over. That nether waste we are storing in a tank all the way up here so that we have access to it in our system as well. So all of those are now done. Now we can move on to the left side here real quick. Let's go ahead and make sure that we can make our zinc ore and, our zinc gears, as well as our brass ingots and our brass plates. Now there's 2 different ways we can potentially make brass. The easiest way is going to be in the arc furnace, so I'm going to probably try this one to start, because this only takes 1 of each of the ingredients and gives us 2 brass ingots out. Now the other ways to do this, we can certainly do it in the alloy kiln. That's 3 copper and 1 zinc. That potentially could work for us, and that's more efficient for us right now because we have a lot more copper than we do zinc. So that could be the other way to do it. We can also, of course, do it in the solidifier after mixing the fluids using the mixer. That's an option. And then the last way we could potentially do this is literally just create the dust by mixing in dust of the various types. This is probably my primary backup here because we did not set up the casting multi-block right now. We only could do it this way by crushing these up first and then spitting them out, and then we can smelt up the dust. That might be really, really simple for us. But for now, let's try it the arc furnace way, and if we run into issues, we will go and do it the other way. Now, we no longer have to walk all the way down to the arc furnace to set this up. We can literally just add it into our system right here. So there we go. Now we have brass in here along with bronze and everything else. Personally, I frequently get brass and bronze confused in my head. I know that they're completely unrelated things, but with the use of copper as the base, I always get those ingredients switched out. All right, so if we do that properly, we should be able to tell it that we want a piece of brass here, and that in theory will make it. So let's just wait a second here. We can go all the way up to our arc reactor and see if that worked, or if it put the items in the wrong slot. Yes, it put the wrong items in the wrong slot. That's what I thought was going to happen. We at some point need to figure out a better way to deal with this arc reactor crafting setup. So now we can add the brass plate recipe and have that auto craft in our metal press. We do need to remove the plate mold from the recipe because that's just going to be a standard part. We're not adding in the plate mold. It just happens automatically because each of our metal presses only has a single mold in it. So that's going to stay put. There's our brass plate. Now we should be able to request a brass plate here. Let's do 1 of those. And with any luck, momentarily, we should get the brass plate back out. We did. And that'll complete that quest line for us. Great. Now what we need to do is create up a pattern for our zinc gear using exactly the same format. We are going to remove the gear mold from that. And there's our processing pattern. We slap that into that same array that we saw before, only this time it needs to go into the row with the other gears so that it gets in the gear mold. And now we should be able to request a zinc gear to complete that quest. And there we go. There's the zinc gear. That should complete that. We get credit for it and we are good. Wonderful. So that's now automated. We need to create a dimensional detector. I don't know why, but it's a thing that we need to do. For that, we are going to need to make another quantum entanglement porter. So let's do dimensional detector here. There we go. Let's add that to our shopping list. We are going to make one of those. We need to make up the quantum entangleporter. That's really easy for us now that we have all of the other ingredients automated, but we do need to request a few more brass ingots. So let's pull this out. Let's just ask for 8 because it's going to do it in sets of 4 anyway. And we will probably use them once that's done in just a second. There we go. Now we can make the dimensional detector. And let's see here. What are we actually going to use this for? Nothing. Apparently nothing. It probably is going to be part of a multi-block. I'm not sure exactly which. We will find out shortly. Throw it back in here for now. All right, so next we need to make netherite dust, which apparently we need 4 pieces of netherite scrap and some gold. For that, we are also going to have to automate the production of enriched gold because that's going to be more effective for us here. That gives us 8 instead of 1 piece of gold. So let's do that in our pattern system as well. Everything needs to be a pattern at this point. Let's start with our netherite dust. That's going to be easy enough for us. We're going to throw this in here for the pattern, but we're going to remove the requirement for gold because we're going to use one single enrichment chamber that only is focused on providing gold, and that's it. Next, we need to come up with a recipe for enriched gold. We are going to do that right here. This is the one that we want. Only, no, it's not gold dust. We have that wrong. Oh, no, that's right. We want gold dust. Okay, sorry, I have that absolutely right. We're going to do that, and I think that we can auto-craft gold dust. Thus, you can see the plus right there. We do need to drop these in to the proper machines. So the enriching factory will give us our gold here, and then the processing pattern is going to go into another one of our infusing factories, which we have not set up yet. And we will come to this infusing factory. So this has an export bus. All of them have an export bus, so they should be automatically exporting whatever we tell it. The other ones are automatically exporting their relevant ingredient, in this case like enriched obsidian, so it's always full of enriched obsidian. I do not have a minimum stock on here. That's something we need to think about. This instead is going to give us enriched gold, and that's going to automatically insert into here. And this one is going to be the one that gets the pattern for the netherite scrap, so into dust. So this will then start filling as soon as we start making some enriched gold. So let's go ahead and do that real fast. We're just going to request a bunch. Let's go here, enriched gold. And at some point I will fix the fact that we don't have a minimum stock. We need to do that at some point, but we're not going to worry about it for now. That should start crafting up. There we go. And you'll see it's disappearing back out because it's going to go into the enrichment chamber. That's what we want. From that, we can then start making our netherite dust. We're just going to request 1 piece of it right now. That should take a second. Yep, there we go. And only a second because that thing is cranked up to 11. That completes that quest. And now we can use that in a normal crafting grid with our heat protection curio to make a stronger heat protection curio. We have an extra one here. And let's see, this one lasts for 5 minutes. If we put this together, this makes another one that lasts 10 minutes. Well, it completes the quest, but honestly, having this only last for 10 minutes doesn't feel like a major improvement over the one that lasted for 5 minutes. Certainly not the price of some netherite, but we can collect a whole bunch of rewards, and now we can move on to the next section of quests, which of course is the empowerment quest line. To get started in the empowerment quest line, we need to first make up a battery. This requires making a Restonia crystal, which means we need to throw some redstone dust into an atomic reconstructor. We have not automated that recipe, and this is a good time to do that. Use this, put it in a laser. Where's the lasering option? This one, we're gonna add this. And we're gonna store that pattern. Now let's go down here to our middle section that's near the presses. This is where we do all of our lasering. That is the technical term, of course, for those of you all who were wondering. This lasering array here is the one we're going to use. We're going to teach it this pattern for that Restonia crystal. We can also go ahead and throw the redstone dust on here. Whoa, that didn't work, but it got it close enough to make a redstone crystal. Restonia crystal, sorry. And we're going to put that into this chest as the permanent storage home for it, and that will work fine. So now that we have that crystal, we should have everything else we need there. There we go. We probably should automate Nori crystals too if we haven't already. That would be a good thing to automate. Have we already added those? Let's just take a quick look and see if we remembered to do that. We did not. So we can go ahead and add Nori crystals. If apparently we're going to be using more of these, we probably want to store that. So let's grab that up. and we will set that up in our array. All right, so that we are then going to use to make a double battery. For that, we're going to need an advanced coil. For that, we're going to need a basic coil. For that, we're going to need 4 more Restonia crystals. So let's go ahead and grab up 1 here, and then we will grab up 3 more, just like that. I had made up an extra one accidentally. All right, there is our basic coil. We can then use that to make our advanced coil. For that, we are going to need some gold nuggets. Gold nuggets. Let's see here. We should be able to just do it just this way. There we go. We can just do that manually. No big deal. And then that should make up our coil, just like that. Drop that in there. And now we should be able to make up this bigger double battery. There we go. All right. So that's done. Now, before we get to empowerment, we are going to need to make netherite. And for netherite, we probably want to automate that as well. No surprise there. Let's go ahead and add our netherite ingot to our smelting recipes here in our energized smelter, just like that. And now we should be able to add this to our smelting recipes here. Where is our furnace? There we go, basic smelting factory. So that should be able to make a netherite ingot for us just after it does all of the other smelting and whatnot. There we go. There is that. Now, apparently we need to make a display stand. This looks easy enough, but I don't actually know how to make this aesthetic stuff. So apparently, oh, it's just chiseled quartz or any block of quartz, I think, in the atomic reconstructor. So we need the chiseled variant there, which we need to do on the stone cutter, or apparently we can do it from bricks on the crusher. So what we need to do first is make ourselves a couple of blocks of quartz. Let's grab up some nether quartz here. Let's go to make up a little bit more nether quartz. Perfect. Now we've got 8 of those. We can make up a couple of blocks of quartz. And I don't remember if I still have a stone cutter around or not. I may have gotten rid of that, but that's okay. A stone cutter is a really easy thing to make for us. Stone cutter, just like this. We just need a stone pickaxe, apparently. It's been a while since we've had to make one of those. All right, there we go. There's a stone cutter. Let's just throw this down over here, and we will put one of our blocks of quartz on it. Just like this. This is going to give us our chiseled quartz block back out. And actually, as it turns out, we need 3 each of these. So let me go make up a few more blocks of quartz real fast. All right, back here, we can start doing more lasering. Let's throw this down. Let's throw this down. Hopefully those will all get lasered properly. And it did. Great. So that gives us our, what is it, aesthetic quartz that we need? Yeah, aesthetic quartz. So now with those in hand, we should be able to make this display stand. There we go. That's taken care of. Now with that, we should be able to make up our empowerer. Empowerer. There we go. Okay, so this thing, I believe we have everything that we need for that. Oh, but we are missing the machine frames, the Ultimate Technium machine frames. We're gonna need a couple of those. Oh, and we are out of platinum gears. No problem. Platinum. Let's go ahead and make, you know what, while we're at it, let's just go ahead and make like 16 of these just so we have it on hand. There we go. This will slowly start to come in. It'll just take a second. We have more than enough platinum, thankfully. We are fully backed up on platinum. There's 2 of those. Now we should be able to make both of these machine frames, 1 and 2. There we go. And now we should be able to make the empowerer with that. Great. All right, so those are done. We are about ready to start doing some empowerment now. All right, so let's look at empowered canola seeds first. Apparently this just needs a bunch of canola seeds to make the empowered ones. And I believe this is how we can get some empowered oil, which is a fuel source, if I remember correctly, that we use in the refinery with oil. So that's going to make our fuel for us. And I think that we can use this. Yes, we're going to need that to make our lunar technium machine frame. So we're probably going to need a way to auto craft that here. All right. So the empowerer, I believe, probably needs power. So we're going to come up with a nice place to put that. Maybe over here off of this system, although this is going to be temporary per usual, because inevitably what we're going to need to do is automate this heavily for all of these ingredients that we're talking about. We might even need to make several of them, if I remember correctly. All right, so let's wire our cabling up here. We're going to put that underneath our empowerer, just like that. And this then, I believe, should be able to take in our canola seeds here. And, oh, that's why, right, we've used the Empower before, it's just been a while. Not in this pack, obviously, but in previous packs. So it actually looks like we need 4 of those display stands in addition to the Empower to be able to set this up, according to what this says here. So we are going to need to make 4 more display stands. And now we should be able to put these down around our actual Empower. So let's get these put down here onto these power pieces. Oops, that's not where that goes. Give me that back. There we go. And then the Empower goes in the middle. These should all be receiving power. It looks like they are. I went ahead and cleared out all of our miners here since we have infinite access to all of those resources now. All right, well, let's just try this out and see if we can't figure it out. I think for canola, we just need 1 canola on each of these. So with any luck, this should... I don't know where that piglin is at, but I think we were supposed to be able to do that here. Can we just throw it, maybe? We are going to need crystallized canola for this. So we should probably replace this drawer here with a 4 drawer. And then this one, we can tell that canola can go in here because the other drawer is already full. And I need to build a storage array here, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. So for now, this will do. And then all we have to do here is now replace this back into our system. That will then become a storage array for this, and we can put our canola right here. There we go, that should get lasered. There we go, now we should have our crystallized canola seeds. We can put that in here and then pull it right back out. All right, let's try this again. Maybe, there we go. Now we've got our canola, and that made our empowered canola seeds. And again, I think we're going to use this for fuel maybe later, but we don't need to worry about that just right yet. We will get back to that later on. Okay, so now we can start working our way through the rest of these. We can do a smithing template. This we're going to have to figure out. We need diamond, a smithing table, and 2 netherite ingots. So let's go ahead and make up the smithing table. First of all, that should be easy for us. We already have the netherite ingots, so let's grab those out of here. Netherite, 1, 2, perfect. And then last but not least, we need to grab our diamonds. Not quartz, but diamond, 1, 2, perfect. All right. So now this should be the same sort of setup here. Let's go ahead and make sure all of these are available to be put in our hand, just like that. Put 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then this goes in the middle. And there we go. There is our smithing template. Not super useful for what we're doing right now, so we will just throw this into a drawer for later use. Okay, great. All right. Now, the last 6 here, I suspect we might need to automate here, if not now, at some point in the near future. So each of these has a recipe that basically involves empowering the block using other things that we have on hand. So we're going to need emerald in this case that we have lasered. We are going to need probably ruby for this one. Yeah, there's the Restonia crystal. Oh, can we just do it with Restonia crystal? Oh, empowered Restonia crystal. Oh, so yeah, that still has to go through this. Okay. And then of course, all of these others as we go through it. So I'm just going to add each of these to our list and we are going to go ahead and set this up. All right, so I think I've got everything in place for this automation. I moved our lasering setup all the way down here near our main base, and I also cleared up all of those miners that we are no longer using because we have infinite resources now from at least the basic resources we need. So this is making our various things, our void crystal, Anori crystal, palace crystal, the emerald radic crystal, the diamondatic, and the redstone, whatever the redstone one is. Anyways, point being, all of those are now being automated in this system here. So this should be able to make all of these various crystals for us. Those crystals we could be putting into a storage drawer that is a compacting storage drawer, but I found that that wasn't working exactly how I thought when I was doing my requesting. Might be some sort of a weird issue with AE2, but as a result, I do have crafting recipes for all of the crystals individually into their block form as well. So somewhere in here, right here, we can combine those up and make the bigger version of them. Those are what we need to then craft the actual energized flavored versions, which we saw earlier, and we have all 6 of those recipes now stored in our pattern encoder for this block. So here are all of the 6 recipes we are going to need to create. We can create those on demand. So how that's working, the logistical sorter is putting the main block in the middle that is colored black as far as our pipes go. Then on the sides, we get the blue, and then on the top and bottom, we get green. So each of these is broken up into those 3 elements, and that should then work to distribute our items around the system here as appropriate. And then we just have our import bus on the top here. I don't know if that'll work, and I haven't tried this yet. So let's see if we can do some auto crafting. So let's go ahead and start with one of our crystal types here. So I've done the basic crystals to make sure that those will craft. Those worked fine. Let's start with empowered diamantine. Let's do one of those. I think it'll go ahead and make everything up for us properly. And now we'll see if everything goes where we want it to. You can see those items are slowly being filled in as they're crafted. There we go. One thing to remember is that with mechanism pipes here, we can't actually put a color block on something that is not a destination. So this being as part of our intersection here, I had to create a loop around it because otherwise it would just stop at green. So I had to reroute a lot of these. There's probably a more optimal way to do this, and I'll probably clean this up in a little while. But for now, that seems to have actually completed making its actual ingredient here. And now we have our empowered diamantine crystal. Great. So now we should be able to go through and request all the rest of our crystals here that we need. So empowered, let's go through here. Let's go and put that back for now, because now we just want to request one of each. All right, these all appear to be going to their correct destinations, slowly but surely. And there we go. That should then turn into its crystal form, and that should pull back out of the system. Okay, it worked. I am just noticing that this empowered Restonia one is awfully nasty because you actually have to use ultimate Technia machine frames to make an Inanite block. That is, honestly, that is just kind of annoying. I don't know why anybody would have done that except for just to annoy people. That's really not a great recipe. It should just be an Inanite. That makes a lot of sense, but no. We have to craft all of that garbage just to make this. So this could take a second. Okay, all 6 of these are done. Let's just pick up one of each so that we get credit for all of our quest lines here. There we go, that's all of those. And now we can combine these in a crystal assembler to make up our primary ingredient here, which is the super empowered crystal block. So let's throw that pattern in here. And now we should be able to request that. I don't actually have to walk back and forth to add these in. I don't know why I'm doing that, but there we go. Instantly, that is now complete. All right, so with that in hand, we can break that down into super empowered crystals. We probably want to go ahead and save that recipe as well while we're doing this. So let's add this here. Let's add this into our crafting system. At this point, you all can tell that I'm suffering from the PTSD of not having set up everything for auto crafting previously. And this is really the way that I'm trying to get myself out of that. All right. So now we need to make amethyst shards with these super empowered crystals. Again, we are going to do that the same way as we were doing before. We are going to teach the recipe to our system here. Let's go ahead and figure out where that needs to go. It needs to go into one of our crushers. First thing on the list right here, there, we can now make our amethyst shard. Let's request one of those. Amethyst shard. Oh, you know what we need to do though? Let's put our super empowered crystals back in there so that we don't make up a whole other batch of those just for the sake of doing so. Just one, please. There we go. One ping only. And immediately that comes out so that we can get the quest. There we go. And now all that remains is to make a Nether data model. For that, we are going to need to make a model framework here. So I think we have some of those. Yeah, there we go. Let's make one of those real quick. That should only take a couple of seconds for us to make up all the various ingredients. There we go. And now we should be able to make up our Nether data model. Perfect. And now that we have the Nether data model, we can use this to make a variety of Nether related ingredients. And with our loot fabricator coming out the other side of that, we can do all sorts of interesting things. For instance, we can get wither skeletons, and that'll give us wither skeleton bones, skulls, etc. All of these wonderful resources we are going to need to generate for the next set of quests. But all of that is going to have to wait because we have come to the end of this episode of Enterprise Architecture. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye, friends!